Hello everyone, I am back and I'm going to go into this new project of mine with a little more detail. People have been asking me questions about what's going on with it, what's the scope of it, so I'll go over what I know at this point. So this is a 64 Corvette that was kind of made into a pseudo Grand Sport. They did what I was going to do with my C8. They basically added some of the Grand Sport features. That hood. The old hood was a different style than the one I want on mine. Let's see what else. Let me go through some of the stuff. They obviously added the fender flares. They added these vents. They added the oil cooler vent. But there's some things that aren't right. The actual Grand Sports had a trunk. This doesn't have a trunk. This still has the back end. So they grafted pieces onto a C2 Corvette, a 64 Corvette. Those vents aren't really functional. They're just cosmetic. You can see where they grafted this back section onto, actually this is probably where, this top section is probably the original, where they grafted on the vents here and here. They left the fuel filler, which was not there on the actual Grand Sport. The giveaway is the vents right there. Those are factory C2 Corvette vents, 1964 Corvette vents. So they probably grafted on this quarter panel and the fender flares, where exactly you see where they ground it off. So the top part was probably original 64 Corvette, and then the bottom is the aftermarket modifications. The tail back here is not correct for a Grand Sport, but it's kind of correct. It's flat like the one's supposed to be, but you notice it only has two tail lights. The Grand Sport had two tail lights, two big vents, four vents in the middle, and the rest of that is missing. The owner did say that, yeah, you can see the outline of where those vents are going to be. Problem is, those are hard to cut accurately to make them look good. That'll be a bit of a challenge to do. Something going on here. It looks like maybe this got caught on something unloading it from a trailer. I only say that because I know how hard it is, but anyway, something has to happen here. They did some kind of plate here. I've got to fix that. Hopefully he could find a new piece, or has one. He has a bunch of stuff around here. So it's kind of my job also to go through and find what's needed and not. Let's see. So over here is a more accurate Grand Sport. You can see there's the trunk opening. There's the vents. And if you look, these vents actually are vents. They have openings right there. Over here, in fact, are the ducts, brake ducts. Those vents right there are to cool the brakes. So these plates right here go underneath there, and a hose goes from here to the rear brakes. You can see on the front brakes, if you look in there, there is a little tube right here that goes to the brake to cool the brakes. Unfortunately, caliper's missing here. He said he'd see about that. This is a C4 Corvette front suspension with coilovers there. And if you look, there's the C4 caliper. Those of you are familiar with that. The foot box was added to give more foot room. It used to be like on the other side. It did not have that. See how it is flat there? And here it has this extra area that was added to give more foot room. These are the inner fenders here and there. I tried to put them in here. They won't go in without removing the front fender. Oh, let's see what else have we got. Miscellaneous. Here's dash pieces. There's an interior console. Here's some miscellaneous pieces. So part of my first thing is to kind of clean up this a little bit and organize it a little bit. I don't know if I said there's the trunk lid. So I'm going to have to cut this section off. I probably won't do that immediately and graft that on. So what I'll do is I'll put that on top of here, draw an outline of it, and then figure out where to cut so that that can be grafted on. As you can see, typically happens when something gets stored. Mice have been around here. The rear suspension, he had said it had a Ford 9-inch, which I went, wait a minute, that's a solid axle. This is actually a nice rear end. What they did was they took a Ford 9-inch center section and then made it an independent suspension anyway, using the C2 Corvette stuff. So that's a pretty bulletproof rear end. Let's see. The fuel tank goes here, and the filler, I think, is on that upright over on the opposite side. I'll get details. A lot of the stuff I'm not 100% on. And this whole thing comes off. What else? The doors, they're just hanging. They're not really mounted. There's the hinges over there. He's got better hinges, machined. I think they're aluminum hinges. Can't find them, but they'll show up. The support here is just a pieces of metal, small rectangular tubing. So I'll have to look at that and see if that's how well that's done, and if it could or should be done better. It is made for an LS engine already, so those engine mounts are supposed to be LS, which is what he wants, so that's good. Brake lines are already routed. Like I said, I am somewhat concerned that the caliper's gone, because that means something's not there. Yeah, okay, I can see. All right, so on both cases, you can see the brake line goes up to where it would be the flexible line in front of that. So here's the hard line that's done, which is good. That's time consuming. But then it stops here where it would go to the flexible line. Hopefully he's going to use stainless braided, but there's the cross brake line. So all of that stuff's done and looks to be done nicely. Steering rack's already in place. Some of the stuff is going to need to be refurbished. The frame is supposed to be powder coated, but you can see it's rusting right here, which I don't know, maybe the powder coating got knocked off or something. I don't know, but anyway, in doing this, I at least have to make it look nice enough. The aluminum stuff, you can see, I mean, the car's been sitting for 15 years, so it's dirty and needs cleaning up. I'll do as best I can, and then once I get to that stage, he'll decide what does he want done. He's going to have it be that baby blue, like the old GT40s were, with the orange. So I asked him what color he wanted the firewall. He didn't really care. I suggested, you know, flat black, semi-gloss black, gloss black, and he said, well, what would you do? I said, well, if it was mine and I was going to paint the car that color of blue, I'd paint that firewall that color of blue, because I like cars. Same way with the inner fenders. We'll see. Hopefully I can find that color without too big of an effort. This is the old front end that was on it when he bought it. Same thing. They took a, sorry. All right, that's not gonna work. Anyway, they took a 64 Corvette and made it pseudo look like a Grand Sport. So you can see that if you look inside, there's the part, the upper part is factory 64 Corvette. And then they grafted on the aftermarket Grand Sport part to make it look like a Grand Sport. So if I flip this up, there we go. There we go. Now you can see what they did. They grafted on there. Obviously they used some Bondo right here and it got messed up, whatever. So this is pretty close, but it's not quite the same. To get up to the headlight area, the 64s had the flip-up headlights, which this is still got. Same way with the driving lights or turn signals or whatever you want to call it, warning lights. They're there. If you look at how the actual Grand Sports were done, The headlights, this is all plexiglass that went across here to cover it up. The headlights did not flip up. And then the running lights, turn signals, whatever you want to call them, are actually underneath inside of that area. So subtle, slight differences, but it still is differences nonetheless. He is going to put a front spoiler. They've got a nice looking, rather large front spoiler that can go on these cars. That's what he wants there. This door was hanging just like the other one. I pulled it off just so I could see, make sure the mechanism worked, make sure I could get it off before he left. The seats are, I think he said C6 Corvette seats. He wants this to be a nice driver. So he's making some concessions as far as the seats. Oh, let's see, here's some dash pieces. Here's the inner, I guess this is the inner glove box. Again, center console. Let me see what this piece is. Huh. I don't know, maybe that is the front spoiler. Looks like it could be from here. Well, as long as I'm here. Pull out, see what we got. So the question is, does this look like it goes there? Man, it sure looks like it could, doesn't it? And let me stand back so you can see what I can see. There we go. I actually think that is the front spoiler there. Okay, let's see. What else? So we spent a couple hours just going through all this. Kind of wanted him to know what I was doing, and he wanted to explain what he wanted done. But then we have pieces like this that I don't have a clue what this is, where it goes. I'll figure that out. We're obviously going to have to cut an opening for the shifter. It's got a modern drivetrain. If you look, there's that tubular cover. The factory frame was not this big round tube like on the Grand Sports. In fact, I think this is even bigger than the Grand Sports. I thought they were like 3-inch diameter. This looks like a 4-inch diameter to me. But anyway, for that to work, they had to notch the floor and then put a tubular cover over it to cover up that round frame. So that was another modification that was done in the past. Kind of bizarre, the cross brace there. There is some, a little rust, but it's not bad. I think I can just take a wire wheel, clean up a lot of it, and then they've got chemicals that'll get rid of rust, so I'll clean that up and see what it looks like. Go from there. This front end is a one-piece front end. Get this stuff out of the way. You can see that it's just got sheet metal screws holding it in place over, I guess, the factory piece underneath. So one of the things I need to do is take all these screws out and pull this off, see what's underneath it. You can see that it should sit down on top of that, but it's probably this step right here that's keeping that. That's about the same distance there. And then you can also see the blue underneath there, and that blue shouldn't be there. So I'm thinking when I take that off and I can cut out that cross piece, and then this will sit down like it's supposed to. That'll take care of that. And the front end has to come off anyway because I've got to be able to put the inner fender wells in place. Not sure what, if anything, goes between the inner fender wells and the frame. You know, in production cars, there's a little rubber strip to kind of seal that off. I don't think that's the case here. I did ask him about pedals. We'll have to see about that. What else? There was something else I asked him. Can't remember. Anyway, let's go back to the back and see if there's anything I forgot. He did show me there were some lightweight covers. Obviously, this whole area can't be open. Fuel cell goes here, but that's only going to cover some of it. So something has to cover the difference. I also need to look at where exactly do I cut this. to put that in place. And that's what I see off the bat. I'm obviously going to get a tire chuck. I don't have a tire chuck. I actually had to buy some tools because my tools are at my house and I didn't want to go get them. So I just bought another set of tools. Can't have too many. So those will be delivered tomorrow. Oh, okay. So this actually is somewhat boxed in. So if you look at this, what is that, about 3/4 of an inch? There we go. 3/4 of an inch around here. Same way here. So let's see. It must be, there we go. So if you look, here's the outside shell that you can see, and then the part that's gray is the second piece, 2-piece. Gives it a lot of strength. So that should make it easier to graft that in, as opposed to if it was a single piece, and then I had to be careful when I cut this out on how much I leave and how much I don't leave. So again, I'll put that on top of it and then take a marker, mark it, and then of course leave enough to overlap. The seats are not even bolted in, I don't think. Yeah, they're not bolted in. So I'll take them out. So the first thing I'll do is clean it up. Take all the stuff out, clean it up, see what I got. He does have a trailer, he said, and ideally we'll go put this on a trailer and haul it to a car wash and use a pressure washer and clean it. If not, I'll do it the old hard way with buckets and soap and all that. All right, that's all I can think of right now. So I am going to go back to the old Jack, where you're actually going to see me do the work instead of seeing me check up on other people doing the work. The hood I've already taken off. I took it and I'm taking the vents out of it. I'm going to have a mold made off of it so that I can use the hood on my C8 and C6 Grand Sports. Same thing with the rest of these pieces. If you're familiar with what I'm doing with the C8, the stuff kind of fits, but it kind of doesn't. Same way with the C6, the stuff kind of fits, it kind of doesn't. So I'm going to copy this and then graft it onto the C6 and the C8 so that I can convert them into Grand Sports. C8's the highest priority right now. It's also the hardest, but it's the highest priority because I've got a shop working on it and they're just dragging their feet and I'm tired of it. So I told them I had access to a Grand Sport front end. And so that's what I'm going to do, is go ahead and make copies of this, take this there and have them put it on rather than paying them to do exactly the same work I'm going to do myself because they are not cheap to have the work done. All right, that's all I've got. Like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate something. And if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't know Jack. Bye.